It's episode 37, and it's actually our last episode for now. We don't know where life is going to lead us, but for now, we're taking a little bit of a break.
Yes, which may be a little bit of a surprise. It's a fairly new development for us, although I think it's been something that's been brewing a little bit under the surface. But yeah, we'd like to kind of close out the year with our final episode for now and talk about endings and kind of why we're coming to this place and kind of the development of our, I don't know, business, our offerings, our services, and all of that. Vessoul Vistas, what's next?
What is next? Who the bleep knows? It's pretty much been life, right? Who the bleep knows? So where should we go? So I'll just I think as two people who came together and we're together no matter what, whether we're doing Vistas or Vessel Vision, um, we've had this 9 or 10 months of kind of working to build something. And I think, fortunately, both of us kind of at the same time came to the not a realization, but a little bit of a pivot that, it's time for me to kind of head a little bit more in my direction, which is, I do a lot of one-on-one stuff and the plant journeys and that kind of stuff. And Claire really realizing, hey, she wants to go off and do a little bit of what she's building, which is more communal type offerings and curriculum. I mean, you build beautiful curriculums and the creative writing. And so we're going to kind of work on our own things and trust that when that Venn diagram comes together again, as it will, that
Yes, so it's been an absolute honor playing, experimenting, seeing what Julie and I can come up with together, combining our gifts and seeing how they can be of service. I think both of us, like weirdly at the same time, which I think this is being supported astrologically as well, as we're like in Sagittarius season and we just had the new moon and all that. But we're just being called to really, I think, stand in our own power first. I know I'll just speak for myself as my writing business, as I'm getting different clients, like I'm starting to feel into what I'm offering to clients more and more. And I think it's kind of surprising me. It's not what I would necessarily have written in a bio about myself. So it's kind of been this cool combination of writing, editing, proofing, and encouraging and cultivating people's own creativity. So that's been a really fun uh, new exploration. But I I was essentially trying to build two brands at one time, and then we were sitting there like scratching our heads, confused as to why not one thing was like really taking off, you know? So I think streamlining our energy is going to be super valuable, especially based on my energetic design, which I just found out in a session. Someone walked me through my human design chart again, and it just feels really good. So I'm excited to see, and I absolutely know we're gonna come back together again.
I know. I know
So
we're not even apart. Like, it's different. The last time I ended a business partnership, it was like an ending. And it was a difficult ending. And there was I held some hurt and but it was like, okay, I guess I'm not going to really see much of these people anymore, which is weird to me. Whereas, like, I don't feel like anything's really going to change between you and I, other than we're not going to get on here on Tuesdays or Wednesdays or Fridays and film these things because nothing's really changing other than, yeah, nothing's really changing other than we're not going to be filming these things. And I'm always going to be supporting whatever Claire is, creating and wanting to energize. And I think I can say the same thing for Claire. So, but, and, I'll speak to the surprise part. of like what you wouldn't put on your bio. You wouldn't have put that. And that's pretty much the whole last 10 years. Like the fact that I'm offering what I'm offering, I could have never predicted ever in a million years that this would be how I'm showing up and sharing my gifts ever. So I think just being able to pivot is really powerful and important because sometimes in life, we get it in our heads. No, I went to school to do this, and this is what I'm going to do. By God, this is what I'm going to do. And, sometimes at the expense of your health and your happiness. We could power through. We could have thrown a bunch of money at shit just to get this thing going. But I think, being able to pivot and sort of say, what? This isn't being supported energetically, or this isn't really gratifying as much as I love doing this with you. We need to make money doing things. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. And so when you put a certain amount of energy into something and you don't get money, I could, it was only a couple hours of time, but I think it gives mixed signals to the universe of like, oh, well, you're just willing to kind of energize things that aren't bringing anything back into your life.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, the pivoting part, I mean, this was you're talking about like we could power through. That is like my MO. And I know you felt that way in the past of just like I'm just going to do this because I said I'm going to do this and I know I can do this. And there is something to be said for consistency, like that drop of water on stone that'll eventually carve out a bowl or whatever. And I think it takes wisdom to know when the universe is asking for your dedication and commitment to consistency versus recognizing what is being supported and what's not. And it's a real ego trip to, at least for me, to say, well, shit, this whole vision. Think about and one of the things I hate the most in life is wasted time or energy. The thought of wasting time, like, ah, and I look back and like, if I did go down that road and started to look at all the time and energy, and if I did allow myself to entertain that story that it was all for nothing, which I don't believe, but that's the ego. That's my ego stepping in and being like, no, I've invested too much now. It's like when you're gambling, you're like, I
yeah,
can't pull out now. I'm already in.
right. Yeah.
So that I'd love to just talk about some of the reasons why we don't let things end that are really asking to end. Like if you and I hadn't come to this understanding together, why would for me it would have been because of that like, no, I don't want to waste all this work.
Okay.
you
Okay.
know so for you, if you were feeling resistant to, and also I was worried about you.
I was worried about you too.
Yeah, like what if I go to Julie and I'm like, hey, this whole plan we had, like, I'm out. Like,
I Yeah, but and I think there's been some times where I think meeting with my sister was interesting because my sister is in marketing, and so she was going to help us out. She's like, you guys make really good content together. And I was like, oh well, thank you. And I think we do. And that's an interesting takeaway that we actually create good content together. Claire has skills that I don't. I have some skills that Claire doesn't. And so together it's like, okay, wow, that's great. But, after meeting with her, it was kind of like these pointed questions. And it's like, well, who's your target audience? And it's like, well, Claire and I have entirely different target audiences. I mean, it was just some stuff that it was like, huh,
mhm,
Claire wants to work with groups and pull groups together. And, and I want to work one-on-one, and I'm hoping to be a bridge between, I mean, I'm going to call them the normal people, just for lack of a better word. But the people that are just doing normal things, going to a somewhat normal job or whatever. That's been my role in my family. And I have a very big family. And now people are looking up in the sky and people are having dialogue about our food supply and some of the things that no one would have been open to. So my target audience is the people who are the quote normal people. And I think, Claire, you thrive in these very unique, what do we call them? I mean, I'm on the same island of
The
misfit toys,
weirdo.
believe me, but it's the island of misfit toys. And like, where do we fit in? And these people with these unique gifts, my people are the people that are literally working the corporate job, or they're the doctors or the lawyers. And so it's like, oh, well, we work differently and we have different target audiences. So it's like, huh,
Exactly.
wow. So, when Susan started asking those questions, there was a like, oh, how are we going to do this together? I was like, yeah,
Yeah, and I think I won't speak for you, but there's comfort in doing it with someone else, in whether it's a relationship or a business that you're building or whatever it is. It's like, if we're being asked to leave it or to end a relationship or whatever, it's like there's a fear of stepping out on your own, and it's like, are my needs going to be provided for? Am I going to be able to handle the things that right now I maybe don't believe I can handle and I can do?
well, it's like getting divorced. I mean, and I've done that twice where we're like, well, shit, it's all on me now. And I'm going to have to handle all of it. And let's face it, I've proven I can do it, but it's sure nice to have somebody that'll help you hang that big mirror or whatever when you don't feel well, you know, cook dinner, those kind of things. So, yes. And I think what we're doing isn't mainstream. Some of our belief systems, thoughts about what's going on in the world isn't necessarily readily accepted, and a lot of times people aren't really open to what we're sharing. So to have to do it with someone, it's like, see, I'm not the only crazy one here. See,
Exactly.
my friend's crazy too, and we seem not too crazy. So
We're
maybe
all crazy.
right. To be the only one standing, giving a message that isn't popular, that's vulnerable. And that takes a lot of courage and risk and all that.
Yeah. And then I'm even thinking about, like, I had to get clear with myself the reasons that I'm trying to put this in the right way. Not the reasons that we're ending this. And one of the reasons that is not why we're ending this, but kind of is the money and the value. And I didn't want that to be, I would have felt like a quitter. I would have felt like really not standing in my integrity if we called quits on this just because we weren't making money. That doesn't feel in alignment. At the same time, I think this is all working the way it's obviously meant to, because I do need to make money. But I didn't want that to be a driving force in making this decision. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I don't think it was. I mean, I don't think it was for either of us. I think we haven't been quote making money from doing a YouTube video. And I mean, I guess, what are no, that I don't feel like that was a driver for you. I feel like it was important. Um, but I think it was the reality of what can we energize? we can't energize building a writing practice, building, one-on-one cosmic coaching, whatever you want to call it, build psilocybin journeys, retreats, returns, a tarot deck, putting out a newsletter. I mean, we were kind of doing a little bit of throwing spaghetti on the wall and like just see what sticks, because and that was another takeaway from my sister. She also just said, we have a lot of talents. I mean, she's like, you guys are putting a lot of stuff together, but I think there was this like, well, let's just see what gains momentum, and let's see what picks up energy, instead of this is what I want to energize.
Right.
I'm making a decision about what I want to energize. And I think we were just kind of like, well, let's just throw it all out there and see what comes back to us. And I think that standing in our power and getting really clear, it's like, I want to energize psilocybin journeys. I have gotten, good feedback, and I feel like I shine in that area. But more importantly, I feel like it's helping people. So that makes me happy. And so, but how can I energize that? And that's a risk, making that decision and proclamation. Like, who am I to do that? I mean, not to mention, probably not super above board some places. But making a decision, and not, instead of like, what will show up for me.
Hmm.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, and I think there's a time for both, right? And I feel like this 2023 was very much a just like, okay, we're gonna start. We're gonna do what we've been talking about for so many years. And it did feel like a natural like rolling out, unfolding. And that was like, and oh, and then here's this course on a newsletter, and I'm gonna take this course. And I was like, I really want to do a newsletter. So it was just like a series of open doors of saying yes, 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 yes. And then there comes the season of like, and now it's time to say no to some things to streamline the energy in this one direction. And I just, it was such an encouraging reinforcement from the universe, because you and I literally had this conversation. Well, I had a conversation with a dear friend. It was like a Thursday, and then you and I talked on a Friday. And this friend she runs her own small business. She's very business savvy, very just like professional, and similar to like what you're talking about your sister. And just offered that clarity, that mirror of like, what are you doing? And we had that conversation on Friday, Julie and I, and we both showed up maybe a little like, oh, how's this going to go? And then it was like, oh, thank God we're on the same page. And then I got two new clients for my writing business the following week. And it was like, okay, so when we free up the space, doing the scary thing frees up space for whatever is trying to come in. And I just
Right.
think about people who stay in relationships that they're not meant to stay in, people who stay in jobs that have like long past its prime. We do that for comfort, and we do that for safety and security. And I understand that. I saw this thing on Instagram today that was like, this guy was just kind of sharing his journey, and he was like, bottom line, at the end of the day, if my entire life could be boiled down into one sentence, it's do the thing that scares you the most. It'll be worth it. So
Yeah, it's true. And my life has been a series of pivots. So I'm okay when it's pivot time, because I'm like, oh, well, we're pivoting again. But I understand that that's anxiety producing for a lot of people. And I even think of my family. I think they've looked at me kind of like, Jesus, what's she doing now? And oh God, because they've been more on a mainstream trajectory, same job for 30 years, whatever. And my life has just been different. And there's not been safety externally, which has made me create an anchor of a safe harbor emotionally inside myself. And so I think a lot of times when we're in these, jobs or things that just support us externally, I am doing a good job. I am getting my paycheck. Like this is where I go every Monday through Friday. That's great. And I'm not poo-pooing that. I mean, there's a lot of stability and purpose and, blessings in that. That's not the life that I have had. And because of that, I really do pride myself on the fact that I can sustain a lot of pivots and a lot of uncertainty externally because I had to create it inside. So there's a gift in when things fall apart. It is an opportunity, or when things don't turn out the way that you planned. It's an opportunity to sort of create that stability internally. And when you have that stability internally, it is easier to manifest stability or stabilizing factors externally.
Yeah. Well, if we could go back to like how we value our work, because I know this is something you and I have been talking a lot about, and it may seem like we're branching off just to go make more money, and that is absolutely a goal, but it really comes down to value. And you had mentioned, like, yeah, I was going through it like, shit, I'm putting all this energy into what we're doing or posting on social media, we're YouTubing, we're newslettering, we're, blah, 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 blah. And then to get nothing back, not nothing. And I don't want to say that, we did get friends and loved ones gave great feedback, and we appreciate everyone tuning in every way that we were supported. But to not get resources back, it it was sending a message to the universe of like, hey, I'm cool, just like this energy dump here that's just a one-way street. And so in that way, I feel like I was kind of blocking, or at least shutting down, the opportunity for money to flow back to me. But yeah, can you speak to that? Like, how do we decide what our offerings are worth
Oh,
and
exactly.
all that?
Well, I relate to that. And it's funny, I've been making kind of a proclamation in the last year. I'm done giving myself away. I'm done giving myself away. When something comes easily to us, like I'm gifted interior designer. It's easy for me. And so I can't tell you the number of people I've just helped because it's easy. And I just do it for free because it's just easy. Oh, it's not hard. And it's like, okay. And my art that I was just putting on our newsletters. I mean, and my sister was different sisters, like, thought you're done giving yourself away. Well, it's not that hard. I just make the art. I mean, if somebody steals my art, somebody steals my art. So I think I gave things away, number one, because I didn't think what I offered was that valuable when I was younger, because it was a natural gift. And so I was like, well, if I can do this and this is my friend, of course I'll give it to them. But what I started realizing over the last couple of years is making that transition between just giving everything away. And I historically have had enough. I mean, I've gone through periods where it's been financially scary, but in general, I've had enough. And oftentimes I've had more financially than someone else. And so I'm like, oh, I'll just do it for free. I'll just do it for free. And so that is what I've decided. I'm just going to give myself away for free. And making that transition is not easy, and it's a little clunky, especially when people who know you are used to getting your stuff for free. And now you're kind of like, well, excuse me, guiding you on a psilocybin journey is energetically a big freaking deal. I mean, I prepare beforehand, I meditate, I tune in, I create playlists, I'm with the person for 10 hours channeling, I'm doing Reiki. You know, people are crying. It's a thing, it's a big thing. And I'm like, but if I'm a healer, I would just do that if someone, you know, and so, but to your point, that is me announcing to the universe, I am okay operating in or in living in an imbalanced energy dynamic. And I might be able to generate energy because I can do that, but it will come at a cost to me at some point because that is the nature of an ongoing imbalance. An ongoing imbalance is not sustainable. And so, trying to shift and pivot and say, you know what I'm offering is valuable. And so I need to assign value to it so that the universe reflects back to me that what I'm doing is of value. And the world that we live in right now, primarily it's money, followers, whatever, words of affirmation. I don't know. I mean, yeah. So I don't know. Did I even answer that question?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think as a lot of us are kind of shifting and transitioning out of the traditional job, the traditional way of being in the world, and we're seeing so many systems and old ways of living kind of breaking down, shifting, pivoting, right? And that's the thing. If we allow ourselves to pivot, it's really, I think of it like going down a river, right? Like if we put our feet up and there's a bend in the river's going to take you, the river's going to pivot you. We don't have to necessarily think about pivoting. It usually is a resistance to the pivoting, which is hilarious because then we're just going to smash into the rocks or whatever. But I think a lot of us, a lot of people in my world at least, are trying to figure out the value of what it is they offer because it maybe doesn't look like a traditional skill set or even what they went to school for or what they've been doing professionally for the past 10 to 20 years. So it's like, and we've talked about this on previous episodes, but it's like, what needs to end right now are these mindsets of like, poverty is holy. If we're in service, it should be for free. Sacrifice of the healer in order and for the good of the whole. It's like that's what's being asked to end right now.
Well, and even if I don't have a quote degree, right? Like, with these energy workers, how do you quantify? How do you quantify? It's difficult. It's difficult to quantify, but I'm the one that gets to decide if what I'm offering is valuable or not. I get to decide that. And I had a kind of an aha. No, it felt it felt so delightful that I was asking people in my family, what do you want for Christmas? I don't give gifts to everyone, but I give gifts to my sisters and like my godchild and whatever. 3 people reflected back that they want a session with me for their Christmas gift.
Wow.
I'm like, huh? Yeah, they want a session. And then one of my sisters was like, well, that yes, my daughter would actually also like a session with you. And I'm like, okay, all right. It was a very much a like people are benefiting from what you're offering. And even though there's no class, there's no degree in what I'm offering, there really isn't. I mean, and these are people that 3 years ago didn't see any value in what I was doing. They didn't even understand what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I guess to those of you out there that maybe some new gifts are coming online, or maybe you have interest in something that you don't even understand. Like, why am I suddenly interested in tuning forks or whatever it is? Follow that, because I really do think that as we tune into our own unique gifts and talents and ways of working with energy or plant medicine or sound vibration, I just think there's going to be a lot of support for that kind of work as we step into the next 100 years. And I say that that is a bold statement, but I believe that.
Yeah. Yeah, which then even brings up like a whole other issue for me that you kind of brought up. It's like, do I allow other people to decide that my stuff's worth it? And I'm so glad your family is like supportive and interested. But these past few months or several months where you and I are putting this stuff out and not getting a whole lot of feedback. We have very little views on YouTube, but we love our regular viewers. Thank you, friends. And we're just kind of like, huh, like we know that what we're putting out is valuable, but it wasn't being reflected back to us. And that's really hard to like hold on to truly knowing the worth of what you have, what you're offering, even if the world isn't reflecting it. But then I'm like, well, if it's truly valuable and if it's in alignment, shouldn't the world be reflecting back that it's valuable? So it's hard. Uh,
Well, and maybe sometimes, the world isn't marching at the same beat just yet. And sometimes you are the front runners of just talking about things that people don't want to hear, right? I mean, I had basically my whole childhood and my whole life was me talking about things nobody wanted to hear. I remember telling my mom, I don't think there's just heaven and hell. And I don't think that God, only loves the Catholics. I mean, I was always saying shit nobody wanted to hear. Like nobody liked what I had to say. So I'm seasoned at actually people being like, you get away from me. Um, and a lot of the joy in what we've done together is just doing something with you. It's just been fun for me. And so, yeah, it's a lot more fun when you're getting money and you're getting a lot of views and likes. That's a lot more fun. But I did and I do just value the conversations that we've had. And I don't know what there I don't know. Will there come a time where you and I do this where we're talking about a topic for who knows? But it's the lens of success, right? Yes, money is important, views are important, but I've enjoyed this. And then someone said to me, because I'm probably not going to stop talking on the screen because I'll probably just keep doing that somehow. Um, but someone said to me recently, I think I can't remember what. There was something that said a successful person on YouTube or whatever, it's like 5,000 hours of training or something. I don't remember what it was because I was only half listening to the statistic. But we've got a lot of practice in talking about difficult topics, I think in a way that hopefully hasn't been too polarizing or too offensive. I've gained greater awareness about, maybe the way I approach talking about topics. And even just when you and I haven't had the same, view or vantage point, how do we present in a cohesive manner when I'm like, I don't really know that I agree with that, like that's been good for me.
Yeah. So it's been a delightful journey. I'm excited to see what's next for both of us individually and together. Um, it is kind of a pride thing for me because we told so many people we were going to be doing these returns. I told so many people that we're going to be putting on a return in the spring and all that. And who's to say that we don't? I don't know yet. I'm still open to that possibility, but I think I have a different approach now of like, I'm not going to force this to happen if it doesn't flow with ease. That doesn't mean we don't put hard work into something, but to kind of feel into that nuance between forcing something and putting your energy and your effort towards something with an open door, there's a slight difference. And for me, who's kind of traditionally been a bit of a bulldozer, it's really important for me to like pause, feel into the energy of the space. Is this a yes in my body? Is this a no? And am I overriding the no because I want it to be a yes, which I do a lot. So I'm excited for 2024.
2024 is going to be fantastic. I do already feel the big shift in energy. Like it feels super supportive. I feel so much more gratitude than usual. And I think I'm a pretty grateful person, but just I wake up and I'm like, I can't believe how fantastic it's all been. Like, and that can make me cry right now. I mean,
No.
how fantastic this has all been. All of it. I mean, I have that sense that something is about to change in a big way. And it's just been so fantastic. I could not have imagined a life so rich and full of beauty and love and pain and accomplishment and disappointment and compassion and heartache and achievement and loss. It's like, wow, to have the full breadth of these experiences is just just magnificent. And that's the energy that we're in, to feel these emotions deeply and to speak with authenticity. And I don't know, I just feel that 2024 is gonna just knock our fucking socks off. Because it's time, right? It's time for us to kind of touch the earth with our bare feet and kind of explore in a new way. And I'm here for it.
I'm here for it too. And there's nothing more to say after that. That was so beautiful. Thank you.
Aw, made myself cry.
Made me tear up over here. Well, we're just going to keep having these conversations, but we're just going to take it back to the telephone.
Yep.
And who knows, maybe you'll see us on the YouTube again one time.
Well, y'all can see me on Show Me St. Louis at the first of the year.
That's right.
Been
That's
asked to be on their show, so who knows? Who knows where we're going?
Julie's taking it to the big screen.
Well, it's a local morning show, but
Still freaking awesome. I'm excited. I can't wait.
somebody came looking for me, and I'm not going to miss an opportunity to talk about chakras and energy. So
Hell yes. That's
yeah,
amazing. What a great way to start the year, too.
it'll be fun. It'll be fun, and yeah, heading to Exuma, and one of these days you're going to join me again there. And yes, I see great things for both of us.
Mm. Well, thank you, all of our friends who have listened, viewed, liked, commented. We love you so much. We hope that this has been a gift to you. It's been a gift to us. And we love you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.